All right, here's a fact. Cheese makes wine taste better. Probably my favorite fact about cheese, right? It's science because the fat in cheese coats your tongue, which reduces the effect of tannins and or sourness that you get from bad wine. So if you're going to a friend's house and you know they have suspect taste in wine, they're like $2 below $2 Chuck.
This has been happening lately.
You need to load up on cheese. It's like carb loading for a marathon, but you cheese load for your buddy's shitty wine.
I love this. So this is how you get around that very, very, very real problem. Because now that I drink less than I used to, I'm not going to lie. I think about it. Is this worth it? Is this plonk worth it?
Yeah.
Is this glass of whatever? Because I'm no longer like trying to get fucked up all the time anymore.
It's like an airbrush for your tongue. It just makes everything feel better and taste better. It's like today's episode is all about cheese. We have one of the best cheesemongers in San Diego, one of our favorite shops, both of us. Conjoined in our love for Smallgoods in La Jolla. They are coming on, the husband and wife owners and operators and cheese and meat purveyors and just lovers of local food are coming on to tell their story. If you haven't been to the shop, you'll hear their story, then you're gonna have to go.
They're production people too. You know that, right?
They were producing
TV.
music documentaries about really badass indie musicians too.
Cool ass shit.
We got some stories. This is Happy Half Hour. I'm Troy Johnson, food editor, longtime food editor of San Diego Magazine, and I guess I own this thing now. And Jackie Bryant, who's written about food, knows about food, was eating like Spanish treats when she was 6 years old, and the breeze was coming off of the Mediterranean, and she was, hand raising Iberican pigs. Every time that you say something, I'm like, how have you done all of this?
Those things have happened. I've lived a few lives.
Welcome. This is everything you need to know about San Diego's food and drink scene this week. Jackie's going to go through the news in just a second, but I want to go on with cheese. I have some facts here. Ready? Okay. They think that cheese was discovered when a dairy farmer, probably a nomad, was storing milk in a cow's stomach, and a cow's stomach has the enzyme rennet, which you need to form curdles and cheese itself. So he or she got to their destination and tried to pull out their milk, and it was all curdled. And he said, "Oh, this is terrible." It was not terrible. It was cheese. Earliest evidence, 7,000 years ago, of cheese. The bacteria in Limburger cheese is the same exact bacteria that you find in your feet. That is why Limburger smells like dirty feet. And I say that in the most loving,
I was just going to say, is this why my 2-year-old every day, I'm like, I want to eat your stinky feet.
Yeah, right. That's it. I think so. I think we want to eat our kids' stinky feet because they remind us about our favorite cheesemonger. It's Brevibacterium linens. That is the bacterium. Preservation. All the best things in the world came about as a means of preserving food. Grapes. You got too many grapes, ferment them and turn them into wine. Bacon. You have leftover pork that you don't want to spoil. The Chinese were the one get the credit for this. They just stored it in salt, and eventually they smoked it and everything else. Another method of preservation, and they added a little bit of sugar. Bam, we got bacon. Cheese is the same thing. It's just the afterlife of milk, right? You got all this milk. How are you going to do it? And it's a premiumization too, meaning you have all this dairy milk. You're like, how do I make more money off of that cow, this product? Farming is hard enough. But if you turn it into cheese and you age it a little bit and you turn it into a premium product, then you can sell it for a lot more and pay farmers.
And in this age of protein maxing, if you've been on the internet lately at all, TikTok, Instagram, you've seen the reels, everybody is all about protein these days. That's just what cheese is.
That's it.
It's preserved, edible, blocked protein.
Speaking of, this is one of my favorite proteins in cheese. Help the Romans conquer the earth, which is crazy to me.
Is that casein or is that rennet?
Well, so what they did, they produced these massive cheese wheels, right? And very few armies and or civilizations really had that. They did have it, but they weren't as profound as the Romans were with their wheels of cheese. So they would go to give cheese rations to their soldiers in war, and there's no 7-Elevens or Erewhons on the warpath in middle-aged U.S. history.
But there are exceptional cheese wheels of Parmigiano Reggiano.
There's these cheese wheels, and they would give these cheese rations, and so the Roman army would have these protein sources, whereas the other army was looking peaked, and they were looking a little unproteined, and they'd have to ransack villages in order to get the sustenance to fight armies. So cheese helped the Romans.
See, so this is why I advocate for quality equality in all food lines. And I totally reject that good food need only be something that the rich enjoy. Like, soldiers during Roman times could have...
It was in the MRE.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, why do we need to have all this processed garbage? Like, it is our birthright to have good food at whatever, part of society we come into.
In whatever war we're waging that day.
Yeah, that's my takeaway from that.
That's it.
I love that.
Okay, and then average American eats 40 pounds of cheese a year.
Believe that.
The highest country, can you guess this one? The highest consumption per person. What country has the highest?
Okay, let's talk about this. Is it an obvious one? Like France or the UK? No, not the UK.
You're in the ballpark.
I'm in the ballpark, so it's white people. It's white Europeans.
And it's specifically white cheese, which would kind of give you a hint.
Is it Irish people? Cheddar?
Other direction.
British, Scandinavia. Down.
Yeah.
Germany.
No.
The Netherlands.
Think about this. These people eat a bunch of this crumbly cheese all the time. Greece. Greek people eat 60 pounds of cheese. 60 pounds of cheese per person, and half of it is feta.
I believe that.
Yeah. So way to go.
I have Greeks in my husband's bloodline, and I completely believe that.
And Wisconsin in the United States produces half of the American cheese.
Believe that.
Half of the cheese.
Yep.
And then how many gallons of milk do you think it takes to make a pound of cheese?
50.
10.
Okay.
You really went like Showcase Showdown. You went way over, buddy. They're not getting it. We got so close.
That's what happens. I freaked myself out on the one wrong one, so I was like, I'm wrong about everything now. Let's just shoot for the moon.
So cheese is one of my favorite things.
Cheese is made. The moon is made of cheese too. Did you know that?
The moon is made of cheese. That is true. That is an actual fact. I learned about it in a very colorful book that was about 6 inches tall when I was young. All right, that's your facts of cheese. Again, celebrating the arrival very soon into the San Diego Magazine offices of Smallgoods owners, one of the best cheese shops in San Diego. Now, Jackie,
I think we should just rebrand as a cheese podcast.
I know,
cheese
right?
Facts.
Yeah, that's it.
I think it would hit. But anyway,
my whole life.
Actually, speaking about the opposite of cheese, Dreamboat is now open in University Heights. So it's a new micro diner concept from the creators of Kindred and Mothership, which means it's vegan. It has a takeout focus too. It's like the cutest, it's just the cutest little Americana diner spot. It's in University Heights, just 10 bar stools. There's a retro futurist design, lava lamp covered floors, stainless steel interiors. It's sort of like going into an old diner. Mm-hmm. But maybe you microdose that day.
Yes, it's the microdose diner for San Diego's populace. Claire and I met with one of the co-conspirators. We can call him an owner, but they don't actually like being called owners because there's a few people that are behind it. But Corey Statina, who really was the ideast behind Kindred, behind Mothership, behind this, and behind what eventually will become Vulture, behind it, which is another immersive wonderland, which I'm sure you have notes on. But in Dreamboat, they have a wood-fired oven in this diner. That's the interesting thing. So the star of what they're doing, there's 2 stars. We tried everything on the menu. The 2 stars, 3 stars. 1, the name. How effing good of a name is Dreamboat? How did no one ever name their restaurant Dreamboat before this guy did it?
It's kind of perfect.
It's perfect.
Rolls right off the tongue. It has a very specific, warm, fuzzy image.
Oh my God.
It's cute.
Like immaculate hair, like 1950s Americana, the glint of the sun off your perfect teeth, a swooning back of the forehead.
See, we needed all of those concepts to totally die out before they could be brought back.
That's true. We did need to kill them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's the Dreamboat phase.
And then form a casino of American food and have them come do the casino tour. Anyways, the star of the menu, for me at least, was the latke. And the latke that they roast the potatoes on that wood smoked fire. So it gets a little bit of a smokiness, and then they mill them. And then
there's an apple compote on it.
There's an apple compote. So basically what you get is this and they do a Belgian waffle press on it. So you get this really kind of like French fry interior, but the tiny bit of smoke from the side. Oh God, it's so good. And then you get that crispy exterior. And then they do an apple compote, but they do it with hot toddy spices. So it's like it's an apple sauce meets like apple butter.
I love it.
Oh, it's so good.
It kind of reminds, latkes are some of the best food ever created on planet Earth.
I'm Irish. Potatoes are my people.
In New England, there's a chain called Bickford's, and it's like a Denny's style chain, and they have this thing called the Big Apple. And it's basically like like what you would call today a Dutch baby, but they have that apple compote on it, and it's like a thing, and it's like a thing in New England. Like your family went to Bickford's and you did that. So this is like kind of a cross between those two things. And I love it.
Yeah, and they do.
It's a little different than like the applesauce. Like they're taking it a step further. And it's bringing it into Dutch baby territory.
It's got bourbon in it too.
Yeah.
It's got and the other one was a Dirty Shirley. Oh my God! So the guy that's doing their cocktails, I mean, they've always been fantastic with cocktails.
Yeah, the best.
I forget the name of his company. He's got a shrub company called
Cool Hand Company.
Cool Hand Company, which you should check out. It's like canned shrubs, which shrubs are basically like flavored vinegars, for drinks, or like flavored vinegars. Am I getting that right?
Flavored, like, I think like tonic shrub, like bitters are like a tincture kind of thing. So like different tinctures, shrub tinctures, stuff like that I think you can put in drinks. And
exactly. It's a flavoring for drinks, for cocktails. But he does a Dirty Shirley, which is with a strawberry grenadine.
I'm getting a different one here. I'm seeing another version with ranch water, pickle brine, Old Bay, and espresso tonic with lemon marmalade. That sounds insane.
It sounds insane. And I don't even know if I liked it. I tried it and I'm like, Old Bay, amazing. I'm like, I don't know if I hate this or I love it so much. It was really interesting. The best one though was
like brunch and a drink.
By far the Dirty Shirley. It's tequila and a strawberry shrub. Oh my God, it's going to be the hit of the summer. So good.
I love that. And there's a coffee program that has an orange cream latte, salted toffee latte, pistachio matcha fizz. Again, all vegan. So yeah, they share a kitchen and entryway with the upcoming concept Vulture, which is a design-forward nighttime experience coming soon.
These guys don't go small when they go into designing rooms.
Like, do we even need to say it? It's Kindred, it's Mothership, but this is going to be like even charged up beyond that, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be psychedelic. I think it's going to be bunch of different colors.
So you're going to walk down a hallway. Microdose, you're macrodosing?
You're going to go from microdose to macrodose. So anyways, that's open right now. Go check out Dreamboat. All right, what's next?
So also open in University Heights is Marta Cafe. It's a new coffee shop and Mexican pastry cafe from Denise Arellano. Her background includes time at Valle, that has the Michelin star, Gage and Tollner, and Maysville. And it's in the former Twigs Coffee House spot on Adams Avenue.
Good to see that place getting life.
I know. It's been kind of, it literally is an iconic location. It's been fallow and it'll be opening this summer. So it's named after her grandmother. It's rooted in her Calexico Mexicali family legacy. There's espresso, matcha, pastries like cardamom chocolate conchas, cochinitos, which are little molasses pig cookies, orejas, heart-shaped palmiers. They look like those big palm sundae things, and croissants. We got dogs in the office, if you can hear some barking. It threw me off for a second. I was like, where are we, at the zoo? So there's going to be a bigger menu coming down the line. It's going to expand to include lunch items like tortas, quiches, heritage dishes like ensalada casino. That's a border town Caesar with blue cheese, magi, and Tabasco. And it just a very classic, homey design inside with handmade green tile, Oaxacan Barro Verde ceramics, custom dishware.
Yeah.
Really cool spot.
Marta, University Heights. You know what I love about this? Just a personal anecdote of this one is that I was getting PR emails and I was always coordinating with Roberto Alcocer, who is the chef of the Michelin Star Valle up in Oceanside, right? And the PR person on it was Denise. So she's done everything. She's been working through every stage of the industry. She's done cooking. She's been on the line. She's done PR. She's done operations. And she was always so sweet. And nothing against, I have many friends who are very good PR people. But there's an underbelly of the PR community that is a little bit disingenuous. The good ones are good. The ones that are not so great, you can tell they don't have a passion for the job.
Right.
They're just kind of, you're there.
Hard guns. It happens everywhere, right?
It happens in every single industry. But this one, she was always so good. She always seemed like she knew what she was talking about. And she always seemed so passionate and just really chill. Yeah. And she's like, I got an email saying she was quitting. And then I saw this news pop up like 6 months later. I'm like, oh, awesome. All right, Denise.
Yeah, she had a plan.
Yeah.
I know. When I saw that name, I was like, Denise Arellano. Wait, I know this name. Plugged it into my email and was like, oh my God, it's that Denise. Oh my God, how cool. So good for her. We're stoked about that.
All right, let's run through these ones really quickly because we just saw the Smallgoods people walk into the office. Let's do it rapid fire.
Yeah, Bar at the Bow opens in the Gaslamp. It officially opened on May 16th inside the historic 1886 Bow Hotel, which was just reimagined. It's a former Prohibition era speakeasy restored with preserved brick and its original bar. You you can think Elevated Comfort Food by Chef Robin James.
We did a podcast with Robin James at Top of the Market.
Top of the Market.
Yeah.
HHH alum.
Yeah, and a San Diego native too.
Yes, he's got a great story. He's like, his like culinary history tracks all of San Diego.
Went to Jack in the Box, I think.
Exactly.
Yep.
No, his parents met at Jack in the Box.
No, that's
where he was conceived. Yep. So he's got duck pot pie, whole roasted bronzino, the Beau Sundae.
Did you just say he was conceived in a Jack in the Box?
Well, in a Jack in the Box milieu.
Wow.
I think we said this on the podcast.
This story got a lot weirder than I ever expected it to go.
Jack in the Box. Okay. He's here
which is very different than conceived in a Jack in the Box, but
you know, I'm taking storytelling licensing here. We're storytellers. Anyway, there's built-in lore here. It includes a rumored ghost and a moody vintage-inspired design.
I feel like anytime you're drinking ghosts. But yes,
yeah,
you know what I mean. Just personally.
Oh, yeah. most certainly. It's like a mirror. Who's that ghost in the mirror? Anyway, Panama 66 is going to host a new jazz jam later this year. This is very, very cool. Trumpet legend Gilbert Castellanos is celebrating 10 years of jazz at Panama 66.
Wait, let's back that one up. Sorry, edit that. They're not. It's not a new one. They're doing an event celebrating 10 years of Gilbert Castellanos because he's been doing it every. Got it.
Yeah. Jazz at
they're basically
this spot.
Like one of the best jazz musicians in town's been doing this live jam there for 10 years. And now they're doing a 10th anniversary special.
All right. So Panama 66 is hosting its annual jazz jam later this year, but it's the 10th anniversary. So trumpet legend Gilbert Castellanos has been playing jazz at Panama 66 for the last 10 years in October. And so
that's not true either. I think I'm fairly certain it's either monthly or it's weekly. So we need to get that correctly. So he's there. I think
it's a weekly jazz session, and then the anniversary is in October. Okay.
Yeah, every single week.
Gonna start this again. Yeah, okay. So Panama 66 is celebrating its longest weekly jazz. I don't even know if it's the longest.
It's like you're good.
Yeah, Panama 66.
Don't get your head here.
Yeah. Panama 66 is hosting an anniversary this fall for one of its longest running jam sessions. So weekly, Gilbert Castellanos, who's a local trumpet and jazz legend, he's been playing at Panama 66 every week doing basically like a jazz.
Inviting jazz musicians down in that open air Panama 66 at Balboa Park with a sculpture garden and that
we
little
talked about
water.
This last week, how much we love that spot and we love the art garden.
Gilbert is, so this celebrates 10 years of him moving his jazz jam. There's a personal history with Gilbert. When I graduated with a poetry degree 700 years ago, I met with Gilbert. He was doing his jazz jam downtown. He was just getting his career started, and I did a spoken word with him playing trumpet behind me. He would go on to work with many way more famous people than me, like Wynton Marsalis, Dizzy Gillespie, Diana Krall. He performed with all these people on his records, and every single Wednesday he's been at Panama 66, and they're celebrating 10 years.
That's coming up in October. And the Little Italy Food Hall revamp is being planned. So it closed in February, the old one. Now it's being reimagined by Tiger Hospitality, who owns Cosmos Burgers, La Vida, Lobster Lab. It will become a new European piazza-inspired venue with an indoor-outdoor bar, live cooking demos, special events, multiple new restaurant concepts. That launch is planned for later this year. There's no new name yet. So I think it's going to be more of the same, just with the different window dressing.
Yeah.
Different restaurants, that kind of thing.
It's a giant net of food. You know, I mean, again, I hope that they do really well. And you don't know. I mean, maybe they will.
I know.
You know, I mean, if you have a fantastic operator, it will always shine in any space. The problem with a food hall inside of Little Italy is that Little Italy itself is already a food hall.
Exactly.
Right? Meaning like the entire street is full of so many options. Food halls particularly thrive in areas where you're like, you know what, there's not that many options, you know, so God bless them. Do it well, and they'll come.
Hope so.
Yeah. All right, that's it. That's your news for today. And now it's time to bring in our guest. Okay, so I've been talking about our guest since the beginning of the show. I'm a big fan of cheese. I still remember the day that it broke for me. That I broke through into this world was I was at 9-10, and as they proposed a cheese course for dessert, and me being a overly simpleton American was looking for a big plate of diabetes. I was looking for just sugar upon sugar upon sugar. I wanted a dessert, a true dessert. And he's like, just give it a shot. You're starting to learn about food. Just try this, and I dug into that cheese plate, and it was one of the best damn things I had ever had in my entire life. It was like, the skies opened up, I became more of a human being, and then it started like a real bad addiction for cheese. And Jackie, and I've known of Smallgoods, and I've known that you guys are very, very good. But I hadn't really had a chance since we took over the media company and had a baby and, whatever, a lot of different reasons, I hadn't made it in there. So I did finally make it in there. Like a few months ago. I had it once before at the farmer's market, and I made it into the shop, and we sat down and listened to your story, and I saw all of the cheeses that you guys have curated, and I saw all of the meats that you've curated, which are some of the best meats that you'll find in San Diego, and it's basically become now a potential hazard of my future. With those roadblocks, and you're like, I shouldn't go down to that store.
It's a literal roadblock for me. Like I before we started recording, we have a client, Museum of Contemporary Art in La Jolla, that we do videos for. And so I go to PA those videos. And every time after I go, time I have to go to Smallgoods. Like, it's part of my itinerary. I have to bake it into like when I plan meetings for later in the day. Because this is my Smallgoods time, because now I'm in La Jolla. So it is a literal roadblock.
It's a tiny little box of beautiful cheese and meat and sandwiches and creations and local foods. And Jenny's going to correct me. The owners of Smallgoods are here with us today, Mike and Jenny Eastwood. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. We're really happy to be here.
Okay, so let's talk about the journey. Wait, no, you got something to say, Jenny. What are you going to say?
What I was going to say is there are a lot worse places you could find yourself.
This is true.
Eating food, because when you break this food down, this is nutrition.
Yeah.
And it's really good nutrition.
It is
This is high quality. This is grass fed. This is everything that you actually want to be feeding your body.
Yeah.
Same with the sandwiches. All the ingredients. People say it's crazy to try to do everything local, but we really do try to do that. And the sandwiches are amazing. So there's worse places you could.
Well,
yeah, I would say
you
so.
guys are curating, and this is I mean, obviously you make some stuff too, and you put the combinations of things together, and you are making good food, but really a lot of what you do is curation of great American makers, right? I mean, great American meats and cheeses.
That's exactly right. We love what we do. We love going out there and exploring and finding the great makers and new brands and existing brands as well. There's always stuff out there that we don't know about. I got onto the cured meat side of it because when we first started in the farmers markets, all we had were cheeses. I'm standing around going, I'm pretty bloody bored doing this. So I started to look into meats. One of the first one I found was right here in San Diego. It was Pete Balistreri.
Oh.
And so we started to carry his stuff, and then that kind of grew the cured meat side from there on out.
Interesting. So you started. Okay, so you're at a farmers market. You find Pete Balistreri, who was one of the original chefs of Tender Greens. Formed his own Salumeria company. Fantastic salumi, and he does it right. He knows food, does good food, ethically sourced, just quality food stuff. You start with that. And that local kind of becomes a raison for you guys, right? It kind of becomes like what you guys want to do, meaning local kind of expanded to the United States, every single state of cheese, right?
Yes and no. Maybe a little switched around.
Tell me how I'm lying.
I embraced the American cheese scene, and that's what I was driven to do, and that's what we did out at the farmers markets.
Got it.
And that encompassed finding the cheese from all over the country, from all over the United States. And I'd sort of had some background in it anyway because of my time in New York and my time at Murray's and so on and so forth. So here we are at the farmers market, and it's all cheese. And putting together the farmers market and putting together the initial business, it was a challenge for me. I don't do business well, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't think business. And Mike does. And he was willing to come in and to help me do the cheese and do this business. And when he sort of got onto the cured meats, I was so thrilled because it meant that he was going to stick around more and he was going to be a bigger part of this, and it wasn't just going to be me and myself. And then
you mean marrying him didn't mean he was going to stick around for? Wait, and first and second of all,
that's a forced having to stick around. I wanted him to want to stick around and embrace this business. And
there are multiple reasons within the reason, right? The reason is because we love each other and we're married, but also we both love salumi. Also, we both love, that's a secondary reason that enforces the middle reason.
This is interesting. I do feel like cured meats are harder to get into than artisanal cheese. I always find that I eat meat. I just find that there's greater access for cheese and cheese knowledge, and it is easier for most people to try a cheese that they don't know nowadays than to try a meat that they don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's how I feel. How do you feel about that?
I think you're right. I think that we were searching for cured meats high and low, and they're not necessarily in each state, or if they are, they're not USDA approved where you can ship them out of state. So there is only a few that you can work with, and Americans are sort of primed into prosciutto and ham and just like the named meats. And so was I.
Prosciutto is the gateway drug to charcuterie.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it really is.
Or like a Hamoni Iberico. Yeah. And there are American producers doing dupes of those too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then there's guys like Tony and Contro doing Hamon Mangalitsa, where he's the only guy in the country
Which is what?
Mangalitsa is a breed of hog that comes out of Hungary. I think it was a cross between like a Hungarian pig and a Siberian like wild boar, some crazy mix. But they're just like, they are the pig that you want to be working with if you can. Yeah. And Tony chose to go down that path, and quite a few of these meats are his.
So the ones that we tried the other day that blew my mind.
The Copa.
And I did not keep it in my fridge very long because and they could have, because they're preserved. I mean, a little bit, they could last, but they didn't. And that was a good sign. Yeah, because they just went in my belly. Yeah. Anyway, I want to back up a little bit. One thing, I love how they started this show by taking your idea to do every American state for cheese, and then I just gave it to your husband and said that was the idea. So patriarchy is really alive and well on this podcast just to start off today. By the way, I want to self-recognize that and correct right now. But let's back up.
Can I?
Okay. And then I cut Jackie off. Great. I'm doing great, guys. Really quickly, let's back up a little bit, just a little bit. You guys have fascinating backgrounds. I want to start with you, Jenny. Jenny, you produced documentaries of some of my favorite indie arcane, nobody except for my favorite band knows about that band kind of bands, right?
Yeah. So what I initially did in New York City. So I went to New York. My father's family is all East Coast. Loved New York. Went there for School of Visual Arts. Got into the film program, eventually became a cinematographer and shot things and so on and so forth. And then moved on more to producing and getting actually paid. Hey. And so one of the jobs that I had was the head of production of a live action commercial production company. Live action just being, working with the actors and actresses, not doing the computer graphics and CG stuff work that actually Mike did. And what people don't want to admit is, to get to do documentaries, to get to do films, you do commercials.
Oh, absolutely.
You sell diapers, you sell paper towels,
we're writers, babe. Yeah, we understand.
You get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there was a lot of that. But then there was also this other interesting side. And many of the directors on the roster at that time were all indie music guys, and Daniel Johnson, Devil and Daniel Johnson.
Yeah. I remember, so Death Cab for Cutie was one of my favorite bands of all time, and I believe that Death Cab mentioned them. Like, I think they even recorded with them at one point in time or something.
I'm sure.
But they mentioned him. Death Cab, when they first started, they played at the Casbah, and they played it in my buddy's living room.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was, and he mentioned Ben Gibbard. Is Ben Gibbard? The lead singer mentioned Daniel Johnson, and that sent me on a rabbit hole. Daniel Johnson, if you haven't heard him or seen him, almost every favorite musician you've had that's played Coachella will tell you, have you listened to Daniel Johnson? So you helped produce like a documentary.
Yeah, I mean, very peripherally, because my focus had to be on the commercials and getting people paid, But over the years, you would get involved in ancillary parts of the production,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing, and having to line certain things up and stuff like that. Yeah.
And then you got tired of TP and you wanted to work at Murray's Cheese Store?
Production.
Did I just skip over like
is-
7 years of your life?
No,
20?
no.
Honestly, this is a more common story.
I know, right.
than-
Production is just
it's a grind.
Unforgiving.
Yeah.
It's just the sky is falling all the time.
The time.
And guess who has to solve it?
Guess who has to
You
catch
do.
the sky?
Exactly. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what
That's
you're
true.
doing. You stop and you have to fix the problem.
Yeah.
And it's a drag after a while. And I really loved working at Murray's because I started.
I'm going to back you up.
Okay.
Because as I understand, because we had a conversation when I was in the store, is it either you or if it was you, one of you, per the production, I believe, was going to Murray's Cheese Store to get gifts for people, right? Or
Yeah.
Mike did that.
I was
yeah.
doing that a lot for clients. I'd get them gift certificates. I'd get them little, bags of goodies and what have you. And that put me onto their email list. And
Okay.
on their email list is where Jenny and I started to learn about the different classes and different events that you could do.
Yeah.
So it's like after school activities for us, we'd walk down Bleecker Street, go in there and take a class.
That's actually how I got
Okay.
into wine and cheese. I was working in finance, hated my life, and at night I would take wine and cheese classes at Murray's because I lived on West 3rd and Sullivan, so I could
Yeah.
walk over to
And,
the one
and,
on
if you,
Bleecker.
and if you guys listening don't know what Murray's is a very, very, very famous
Yes,
cheese
you can even
store
buy it
New
in
York.
Vaughn's in
Yeah, I know.
San Diego now,
Right.
which is
It's
incredible.
a global
Ralph's.
brand almost.
Yeah.
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 Oh, Ralph's,
It is
sorry.
now, yeah.
Ralph's has little Murray's kiosks
Yes.
in them, which a lot of people don't know, and you should go and check it out.
should.
It's
Nice.
cool.
Yeah.
But Ralph's
I probably took
has
one of
a
your
chain.
classes, I'm realizing.
Yeah.
That's how I got into
might have
like
been in the
Spanish.
same one.
Seriously, Spanish wine and cheeses. I
Yes.
did all those, and that's where I
Yeah.
began like my food education, honestly.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't want to gloss over your background because I know your background was in production as well, and it was in advertising, and it was in the kind of the business of creativity as well. And that's kind of why you guys are really aligned. But you start taking these little cheese classes, and it's probably a great break from the normal job, right?
Oh, yes. It was completely different. You didn't have to think about anything but eating and drinking and starting to explore what you liked. You
Yeah.
know, starting to develop a palate and a vocabulary for that palate.
Yeah.
You know, the way we talk about food, the descriptors that we use, what it brings to mind, that
There's a mountain of a story behind the emoji. You know what I mean? Yeah, right.
exactly. There is, exactly. Because, when you, learning to smell and letting all those aromas go right up in there into that memory bank, your hippocampus. You
have to learn,
is
too.
what is going on. And you equate scents and flavors and all that kind of thing with your memory, what you've experienced in your life, previous.
And even being
Smell tattoos you.
Yeah, and even like being guided to unlock it. There's so much that we don't know and that we aren't taught or that we don't even notice. And like you have to actually slow down and be told to notice and interrogate and pick
People are
apart.
afraid to use certain words as descriptors with food, and they shouldn't be. It should be what comes to mind. Use grassy, use dirt, use all those kinds of
Mid
descriptors.
90s TLC songs. Does that work? Okay.
They're all parts of a
warm,
whole
fuzzy,
anyway.
kind of bumpy.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, they're all parts of a whole anyway. So it's like you shouldn't be afraid of saying something that is theoretically unappetizing like dirt because
Exactly.
like it's just a sliver and it
You're not
right.
wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and it may, you know what, I've been around food for so long, and it may sound to listeners like, that sounds like kind of pretentiousness, like you're learning to really like smell. I'm like, no, we eat so automatically, in our day. We're just like,
It's like a toddler finding its words, honestly. Like that's
really
I actually think it's
smell.
really primal and profound. Yeah.
if
yeah.
you really smell something, you really use all of your senses when you're eating. It is such a more profound experience. It tastes better. You get more joy out
We're
of it.
so asleep to it. That's why we sometimes don't even know when we're accessing quality because we've just been shoveled so much
Yeah.
of this low quality homogenous. I know
think that's a really good
We're
point.
speaking to your
Yeah.
language, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we love what we do and we love the foods that we represent. It's just it's a great job to have. We're really happy to be doing it.
And you told me one story. So you go in. So eventually, You guys start taking these classes. You fall in love with Murray's Cheese. You go, I'm going to get a job there. Or was it an internship? Or was it?
Well, we had walked in to do one of the classes, and there was this just like little scrap of paper, like thumbtacked to a pole that said, "We're looking for cave interns." And I was like, "Oh my God."
I saw that at the time.
God, what is this?
Like, there's a cave intern? I want to be a cave
And
intern.
I was like,
advertised
oh my
it for the
God.
cheese
and
cave.
I'm like this time, I'm like, I gotta do this. I don't know why. I gotta do this. And by the end of the night, I had scribbled my phone number and gave it to the cave guy. I was like, please call me. And Mike was like, oh my God.
I scribbled my phone number and gave it to the cave guy.
Yeah.
That's how humanity started, by the way.
And then I was like, oh my God, maybe, do you think I'll get, like they actually called me and we spoke, and I was like, oh my God, do you think I'm going to get, it was an unpaid intern.
I remember
Mike
those
is like,
job
yeah,
postings.
I'm pretty sure you're going to get it.
It was like the hottest job in New York at the time. Like, I can't even make that up. It's probably why I started writing about food, was because of those classes. It's actually how I got started writing.
Yep.
And I just was like, oh, I can't quit my finance job to go into the cave. But you did it.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because there were a lot of different people that would come in and out of the caves and do these internships. People who were going through, their wine thing. People who worked at some of the top restaurants that wanted to get a feel for, cheese and start to get that education.
They're
and that
serving it. Now they want to dive in.
Yes, exactly. And so they would work in the cave. So you never really knew who was down there.
That was
with
kind of
you,
the spot.
So
You're like, oh,
it
hi,
was
Danny Meyer.
awesome. It
What's
was
up?
amazing. Yeah, there was a lot of people who came through there.
And so you're coming from this world where you're catching the sky from falling every single day in production. Hair on fire, deadlines missed, deadlines encroaching, deadlines coming from the sides every single way. And you find yourself at a cheese cave. How centering was that for you?
It was the most awesome thing in the world, because I would put on headphones and I would listen to endless podcasts, and I would just deal with the cheese, who didn't complain. They didn't give me shit. They didn't, nothing. They did their thing, and I did my thing with them, and it was amazing. I loved it.
And then you gave it to people who appreciated it.
I
God,
know.
what an amazing cycle of life.
That's the magic of hospitality.
Well, there was a day that Jenny came home and she said, I don't know what to do. They've offered me a job upstairs, and I have to deal with the fucking New Yorkers up there. I don't want to be up there. You're out of your mind.
I was like, I don't want to deal with those people. Are you kidding?
And I'm like, no, you're going to be great at it, because you know the story of the cheese. You know how it was aged and matured and brought over and brought to perfect, position to be sold in the store.
Then you got to deal with annoying future food writers like me. So, can you tell me more about this sheep farmer in rural Spain? It's
I wish I had more like you, and I would have the New York. I need a pound of prosciutto right now, and it better be thinly sliced.
You're like, have you ever tried an alternative prosciutto? They're like, no, I need prosciutto now.
But that's how you were born, right? People always asking for prosciutto, and you were like, oh my God, I'm the meat joker now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm never going to give you prosciutto again, and I'm going to open up Smallgoods.
The meat joker. That's it. That's
your next.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that could be.
That's it. So you fall in love with Murray's, and I mean, not Murray's. I mean, Murray's. Yes, you do. But you fall in love with both the monastic nature of cheese and like this kind of like quiet servitude of something growing and becoming great.
Yes, and I also what a lot of people don't realize is, so Murray's would have 350, 400 cheeses at any given time behind the counter.
Yeah.
And when I went upstairs to become a monger, we had to know them all. The great thing about Murray's treats their mongers like rock stars, because you are the front line to the chefs and to the people that are coming in. So you've got to know your shit, and you've got to know all your
You got to get a
shit.
PhD in cheese.
Big time. And so I know a tremendous amount about European cheeses.
Yeah.
You can throw any kind of European cheese at me, and I will tell you what it is.
Yeah.
I
That's
guarantee
true. I've
I'll tell you
actually seen
hopes and
this.
dreams and
Part of the reason also
We've tested her. She can do it.
is also because I took my CCP exam, which is a Certified Cheese Professional exam through the American Cheese Society.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of European cheeses on that exam
For
too,
sure.
Of course, yeah.
And I would never have gotten through those parts of that exam had I not had my experience at Murray's and known those things.
Because the known standard is European cheeses, right?
It is, yes. And even
historically, right?
Historically, and even in this country, historically, the base cheeses that we had were recipes that were, we all came from somewhere else, people.
Yeah,
We really
abs,
did, you
for
know?
sure.
And so England brought their cheddars, and the Dutch brought their howdas, and and they settled in different parts of the country, and that is what is reflective, even now, of our cheese scene. So,
And so as you're looking at all these European cheeses, though, I mean, you eventually really get. Was there kind of a hole in Murray's market, or no?
No. Murray's did an excellent job at
U.S. cheeses.
showcasing American cheeses
Got it.
as well.
Yeah.
And that is really where I started to cotton on to that and really start to pay attention to them and being able to taste them up against their European counterparts. And exposing other customers to that, going, sure, you've asked for the Taleggio, but also side by side, try the Grayson,
It's like the Paris tasting.
Yeah,
literally. It's like tasting Gergich's wine and it finally beating out the French. And it's not that it's better or whatever, but it's just also very, very good. Yeah. And sometimes much
just
better.
had a video idea for you guys.
I mean, look, European cheese is exceptional because they've
for sure.
got it down. Because
Centuries
they've been
and
doing
centuries.
it for so long.
Yeah.
And to what we were talking about a little earlier, people come in and they're like, oh, why does the cheese in France taste so much? It's because you're on vacation. That's why.
Yeah, it's the mental.
Seriously.
It's why we even bother doing marketing,
Isn't everything an amazing experience when you're on fucking vacation? Yeah. So
And you're probably in love because that's when the vacations happen, usually in the beginning of a relationship, and you don't usually go into and you can absolutely, a single person absolutely should and can and should go into a cheese store, but often you're with somebody you give a damn about.
This is true.
Your whole experience is amazing, hopefully, when you go on vacation. And so, yes, the cheese is going to be memorable. It's going to be stick in your brain, but that doesn't mean that it's not somewhere else.
This is why we bother doing lifestyle marketing and Instagram grids and food styling anyway, because you're creating a thing, a lifestyle for them to buy into. So now you got to get them out of that, right?
And so now I have to test you. Not that I'm really genuinely going to test a woman who got her cheese degree, PhD from Murray's,
and brought us her own
and the American
cheeses.
Cheese Society.
But anyway,
you brought us, and I want you guys to paint you guys a picture a little bit. You brought us an amazing array of cheeses. Where do I start with this, and kind of give me an explanation? Like, we don't want to have time for the entire thing.
Yeah.
We'll just eat this entire thing later, and we'll talk about it. But give me like one or two little bits here.
Well, I would start here with the freshest of cheese, and this is actually a really unique. This is very, very fresh. This is virtually no age at all, and it's sheep's milk cheese.
Oh God!
So usually you find you would normally look at that and think it's goat, like fresh goat chev. But this is fresh cheese, Brebis, and it's out of Cocoa Borrego and Ohio.
And for super commonality of imagery, it looks like Philadelphia cream cheese.
Yes,
it does.
Yeah, and it's got a tang and a little acidity to it, and it's just unique. And sheep milk is so good for you. It's just way more calcium and protein than cow milk, and just lots and lots of vitamins and minerals. If you go
lower
for
in
a
lactase
cheese,
too, right?
Go for a cheese. Well, goat and sheep actually don't.
Oh.
They're very up there with lactose.
Okay.
Oh,
They're
okay.
Fresh milk. Okay.
And fresh milk.
So it's not actually a lactose thing.
Good to
It's
know.
more of the fat is more incorporated into. It's more homogenized.
It's more homogenized, and that's why it's kind of the Wagyu of cheese. Meaning like, that's why the sheep's milk. I prefer sheep's milk, and I didn't know why, and it's because that fat content is so
exactly
good to know.
And then another over there in the corner closest to you, Troy, is Prairie Breeze, which is just the quintessential, sort of crunchy Irish style cheddar. This cheese, a little block of this comes in all of our sandwiches. And
this is the one that comes, and it was on the side of one of the sandwiches too. I think.
It's on the side
Toddlers
of
and
every
dogs
sandwich,
love it too. Ask me how I know.
Everybody loves
It is so good. What is that one again?
It's called Prairie Breeze out of Milton Creamery in Iowa, and it's just crunchy and it's just awesome.
Remember the first time? Most people would know this because at Costco you can get a white cheddar. I mean, like an English white cheddar, right? And you taste it for the first time you ever taste it. That's like a gateway. right? And it's fantastic. You're like, oh my god, this is so much better than my generic cheddar cheese that I got from the store or whatever. And then this is just like 1 to 20 steps further down the road.
It's
right?
just a great cheese.
It's just a great cheese.
It's amazing. So, and then one you'll probably like would be the Meadow Creek Grayson, which is all the way over here. Right here.
Okay.
This is the squishy one in the middle, the pudgy one, as I like to call it.
The squishy one in the middle, the pudgy?
The pudgy, right.
Oh, this
there.
pudgy. Okay, got it.
Wash rind, raw cow, Meadow Creek Dairy, one of our great dairies in this country. Again,
Virginia.
raw milk, Virginia.
Oh, this is the one that should be illegal to bring on a plane.
Yeah, just funky and wash rind and
It's like the teenager of cheese. You can smell it coming down the hall.
Exactly. So good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And so I don't know what it is that, and how you end up crossing that bridge. But I remember trying some of the Cowgirl creameries, the Red Hawks and that sort of thing, and going, oh, that's beyond what I can actually do. I don't that I've reached a closet of funk. This is my trunk of my 1983 Honda Accord after I went surfing and left my wetsuit in it for like 3 weeks, opened it up and discovered a whole new realm.
Exactly.
But now I love it.
Have you ever been able to not to do?
that funk.
I've never had a cheese I've not been able to do.
Oh no, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I had to get there. I definitely had to keep on trying that funk, and then I got there, and I love that. It's so good.
I feel like everyone gets there if they commit to it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so the
funkier the better.
We got 10 minutes left, so I'm gonna speed this up a tiny bit. So you guys, okay, so you're in New York, you're falling in love with cheese. You're getting your cheese degree. I mean, you're so super happy. You're like, I don't know if this is going to be profitable, but I am very, very into what I do. You come to San Diego. How did you get to San Diego? Real quick, bridge this gap for me. How did you end up here, and then how did you take the leap from being and I'm joking here, but like real professionals to you're like, all right, we're gonna launch our own cheese business.
Sure. So when we decided to leave New York, we left New York because the production community, you can only do it for so long before it just burns you out.
Yeah.
And me being Australian, I wanted to go back to Australia and go and check it out and see if it was a place that we could call home.
Yeah.
So we moved to Byron Bay on the East Coast, which is just a gorgeous, gorgeous place. It's like we always describe it as Vermont, but with beaches. And that kind of opened up our world to so much of just the great agriculture and products that were available there to us. And we started to just sort of think about ideas of how could we pull all this great product together and make actually a business out of it while still having an emphasis in cheese. Well, I think I ended up spending too much of my time surfing, and the idea never really took off. So we decided to pack up and head
Surfing
back
Byron
to
Bay? Did you surf Byron Bay?
Yeah, a lot.
Oh my God.
Pretty much every day.
As a San Diego
magical
surfer, we just
Yeah.
grew up looking at photos of it. It's so magical.
It is. It's
Okay.
just, it's incredible.
Okay. All right.
So we lasted a couple of years there and then decided it wasn't quite right for us, at least not right now anyway. So we moved to San Diego, and I knew San Diego.
So you moved to San Diego to get away from the surf?
Yeah, famous
right.
work ethic, no surf culture of San Diego.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly.
Where like all the Australians I know here are like, we moved here because it's just
Exactly.
like Sydney.
Somehow convinced your wife, the love of your life, that this was like because you really wanted to focus on work.
Well, we were so dead set on not going back to New York. I'm like, how about San Diego? She's like, okay, let's go.
Amazing
it
compromise. Good
we
job.
were dead set against it, but we had our time in New York,
Yeah.
so we were done. And it was also January, and they were having one of their huge nor'easters.
Polar
and we're like,
vortex.
nope.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. And I knew San Diego because right after college, I moved out here and lived here for a number of years. And
'Cause
just
you're Australian.
loved it.
So-
Exactly.
That is a fantastic point. Okay, so this is a fascinating part of the story. Okay, San Diegans might know. I'm going to tee the story up right. This little shop that you guys found eventually for Smallgoods in La Jolla, it looked familiar to you, didn't it?
It is very familiar to me. So when I first moved to San Diego, I began working for a production company called Spike and Mike's Festival of Animation, or Mellow Manor Productions. And Spike is legendary for what he's done in animation and visual effects and curation of short films.
Growing up in San Diego, the Spike and Mike Film Festival was everything. Every single year, every high schooler in the late 80s, early 90s would go to this animation. It was in La Jolla.
Yeah, that's right.
In La Jolla, I believe, at the MC. No, I don't know.
Yeah, it was called Sherwood Knoll, the
Sherwood
theater,
Knoll
right
Theater.
there.
And it was where you would see the first versions of...
Oh gosh, it was everything. It was
South
Beavis
Park,
and Butthead.
Beavis
It was
and
all the Mike Judge and Pete Docter and John Lasseter who started Pixar.
all
the
their
guys
like
who
starting
started,
shorts. Simpsons,
South
I think,
Park.
were
Yeah,
starting there. South Park.
No, I don't think Groening came through there, but the guys who did South Park did. They came through.
Yeah.
A lot of great film directors who became film directors started there.
So you worked with them.
So I was working there and that kind of got me into the world of animation and visual effects.
Yeah.
Ended up, the short version is ended up moving to New York to work with a gentleman who represented a lot of animation and visual effects companies. I got poached away to a design company, started to work on that side of it as the executive producer for a number of companies there, and that was how I got into that side of sales and marketing and being sort of front of house and giving gifts and what have you and taking people to great restaurants and just having the time of my life. But the interesting thing there is that when we moved back to San Diego and started Smallgoods at 7524 La Jolla Boulevard, it is the exact same location down to the doorknob where I started my career with Spike and Mike's Festival of Animation.
No shit. That
It's
was
the
the original.
same-
That was their original dream,
Yeah.
which is now your original dream of Spike and Mike's.
Yeah. It's crazy to think that you come back to the exact same, not even the city or the street, but the actual same office.
Well, we know exactly that it's our space because Spike had come by one day and these two were talking and Spike wasn't actually sure. He thought maybe...
Yeah, we thought I might have been the next one over.
Yeah.
Literally 2 days later, a piece of mail arrived
To Spike and Mike's animation.
No way.
Well, one of his first gigs was UC Riverside, and it was
Right,
addressed to
like
Melamena
20 years
Productions.
later,
Yeah, we've not received a piece of mail since then either.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so it was meant to be.
That's like San Diego legend.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
The
What I wanted to interject really quick
Yeah.
is Mike's time, doing graphic design and working with those kinds of directors and those in that whole, that part of production. The reason our platters look the way that they do, and even the sandwiches, Mike is totally the chef of the sandwiches.
I've got 4 of them, and there's one of them that's called the sampler, and it is absolutely. And I've talked about a sandwich that you make before. What was it?
The hot one, the sobrasada
Yeah.
sando. Yeah.
The sobrasada sando is just
Yeah.
unbelievably good. But this one, this cold sampler that you have,
The American sampler.
the American sampler,
Yeah.
holy shit!
It's so
When you go and you try an Italian sub or something like that, that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
They don't do that's like that on steroids, on Michelin's, on whatever it is. But what meats are in that
I
sampler?
originally called that sandwich the American Italian sampler. I'm like, nah, that's not right. I just take the Italian out of it. So you got mortadella, you have beautiful nugget ham, and you have finocchione or fennel salami.
Oh, that's
And you've
why I
got
love it. Finocchione was my gateway drug to salumi.
Yep. Oh. And you've got that great sheep milk alpine cheese from Central Coast Creamery, some fresh arugula from Fred's Urban Farm here in San Diego.
And
Okay.
it's just visually like you want to eat them. It's just, they're lovely and they're sort of overflowing. Yeah. And they're sort of overflowing and, the look of things is incredibly important. And I think it's sort of a signature
That's what you were
style
saying.
of
Yeah,
Smallgoods.
yeah.
And it's all because of this man.
His visual feast.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and just that marketing and that just graphic design, and I just.
But also, we talked about this earlier, but as the owners, it's like, who's going to tell me I can't do it?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. That's
a good point.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it the way I want to.
Yeah.
And it's going to be terribly wrong sometimes.
Don't put
and
that
that's
idea
okay.
in his head.
So I want to quickly move on to your side, though. We kind of discovered your love for American cheeses, and really quickly, I want to express a story that you guys told me a while back. Is that you went to all 50, or you found the best cheeses you could possibly find from all 50 states, and that was a couple years ago, right? And which ones were the hardest?
Oh boy.
New Mexico?
Well, there were-
Louisiana was hard.
Louisiana, Missouri, and
Alaska?
Alaska and Delaware, because they're states that don't typically have a lot of agriculture.
Sure.
So we had to go to the universities, and I think
Okay.
a lot of them had ag departments in the universities. So we
Okay.
got them there. Alaska was just some kind of weird Velveeta style, cheese whiz that they put jalapeno peppers in it and called it their own. I'm like, all right, that'll
It
do.
was like our last. We're like done.
Yep.
We're done. Here,
Yeah.
we got it. It's a
But
cheese.
we got it, and that counted. So
I
yeah.
just love that we have in San Diego too a married couple from a production background that produced Daniel Johnson's documentary and toilet paper commercials, and are chasing down the best cheese in every single 50 states and bring them into this tiny little shop in La Jolla that was once the home to Spike and Mike's Animation Festival, which is one of the most famous things that ever came out of San Diego. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. So now let's go into the meats.
Sure.
So you really kind of like mirrored her love of cheese with your love of like American
Absolutely.
makers
Yeah.
of great
Absolutely.
charcuterie.
I went down the rabbit hole of cured meats, and one of them that came to me was there was a woman who was doing her PhD at UCSD would come out to see us in the farmers markets, and she said, "Mike, you want to look up this guy in Petaluma who I just met named Tony Incontro." And long story short, Tony and I became good friends. He was the only guy doing Mangalitsa-based pork products, and we became really good friends and just the number one seller of his products. It was me and Philip Testier, who's a Michelin chef up in Napa, who just absolutely fell in love with his work, with his products, and there's nothing quite like it. Chef,
So a lot of what you're doing, or some of it?
a lot
or-
of it.
Okay.
Well, a lot of it is Tony's stuff. Yeah, but so you have a few different products here. You've got Copa from Tony, Genovese. What you've got right there is actually Piedmontese Brazola
Piedmontese.
from Tony. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then just for fun, the little Finocchione, the fennel salami down the bottom is from Babette's Table in Vermont. That's Erica Lynch's company, and she's up there right next to or right around Jasper Hill. Interesting little side
Famous.
note. She's good friends with the Von Trapps, which is where she gets her pork from. And of course, the Von Trapps are the Von Trapps from The Sound of Music Von Trapps.
They're in Vermont,
Yeah.
right? Still
Yeah.
farming and
Yeah.
doing flowers,
Yeah.
wildflowers, and all of that.
Wildflowers, cheeses, and hops. Yeah.
Tony and Contro's collected works almost. I mean, there's a couple on here, but
Yeah.
which one is the magic? You got to tell me which one.
I think the one is closest to you, the Copa Siciliana right there. Copa is just
the
it's
Brasola
magical.
is special too.
Yeah.
Beef, different Piedmontese beef, right?
It's interesting to see the difference because you
damn,
got the
that's
Wagyu Brazola there, and then up here you got the Piedmontese, and being just such different creatures.
Totally different.
They're fantantic.
Yeah, it's just snowy meats.
If you know any Italian Americans, Brasola is Brajoul,
Yeah. Brajoul.
by the way.
Uh-huh. You got the Brajoul.
Yeah.
So phenomenal. This is okay. We have 5 minutes. We have 4 minutes that we have to get the hell out of here before somebody else is doing something. So you guys opened the shop. What years did you guys open the shop?
Ooh, February 2020.
Oh, that's great timing.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been better timing. 4 weeks later, COVID.
We really do
Kapow.
have a knack for
I know,
everyone
right?
who's been on in like the last 2 months is like I opened up in March 2020, January 2020, December 2019.
We were still in the farmers markets at that time as well. We were doing Little Italy, Hillcrest, and La Jolla. So COVID made the decision for us that the markets were over, which was a blessing. But we always promised that we would come back to the markets when the time was right. So we did. We ended up going back to the La Jolla market. But, we turned ourselves into an essential resource. Jenny had the great idea of bringing the farmers to the front of the shop, setting them up out front, no charge for that whatsoever, and they were able to sell their wares. The foods did not stop growing during COVID, and we provided access to just great farmers market products right there at our shop.
We knew a lot of these guys from being in the market.
Sure.
And of course, we knew the market manager. So it just seemed, the right fit, and it benefited the neighborhood. And
it was about what you're about. Good local
it was what
food.
we were about,
Yeah.
and frankly, we made it through COVID. Based on these things,
Yeah.
it gave us greater awareness in the neighborhood. People found out almost immediately, who
And saw
we
that you
were.
gave a shit about the neighborhood.
Yeah.
We gave a shit, and that we were providing for the neighborhood, and so that think has sort of ingratiated ourselves with
There was
And La Jolla treats you guys well. I mean, every time I'm in there, I see
We do.
familiar faces.
Yeah.
There's a line out the door. There's groups coming in.
We do get treated well. There was one time real quick when we had this young woman come in. This is after COVID. She came in and she looked at me and she goes, and she had her baby with her and she goes, "You guys are responsible for that." I'm like, "Whoa, hang on. Hey, what do you mean?"
Do I have to pay anything?
Yeah, no. Yeah. And she goes, "All through COVID, this is where I came to get my fresh fruits and veggies. So you guys were nourishing my unborn baby at that time." That was
there
great.
you go.
It's just nice to hear things like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, and I do want to mention this. Okay, last thing, and then we do have to move on. We're going to do a rapid fire. Two people, $50. No, we're going to call it Get Some. From here on out, it's going to be called Get Some. 2 people, $50 is done. Call Get Some. We want to say our favorite restaurants, favorite places we're eating. But first, you guys make your not make your money. I mean, you have a great product that people come in and they buy your sandwiches and your meats and everything else. But you're doing platters, right? Yep. So platters are like beautifully presented platters for events, for weddings, and everything else. I've seen them; they're gorgeous. If you do have an event, that is what you want to get because it's just damn good food by people who
They're
know
very
it, right?
special. They're we're sort of purist on our platters too. It's meat and cheese.
Meat and cheese.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
no
Very
filler.
customized.
It's the best.
No filler. Okay. So now we have 1 minute, 20 seconds each. Where do you go to eat when, like, your favorite little hidden gem?
Okay. In La Jolla, we love Verdi's El Rancho. Love that
Verdi's
place.
El Rancho. What do you get?
Yep. The Sonoran Crisp. I love that. Yep. That's one of my favorites.
I get margaritas there.
Yeah.
That's your recommendation? All right. Yeah. So the Sonoran Crisp, the margaritas. Where's your Get Some today?
I've had a lot of family in town. Italians, New Yorkers, very picky. Ciccia Osteria, that's where we go. And I had a panna cotta, a dragon fruit panna cotta. That was the most incredible thing I've ever
In
had.
Barrio Logan. It's
In
so
Barrio
good.
Logan. It
Yeah.
was just bright pink with the black seeds. It looked like it cut open dragon fruit. It was insane. Go get it.
Okay, fantastic. And then mine is, and I totally forget. Wait, where am I? Where was my 2 people $50? Oh man,
I
lost.
actually was scrolling through my camera and I was like, "Oh, a sandwich! It's the Copa sandwich from Smallgoods." I couldn't say that.
And then I'm ending wedge salad at Juan Jasper, which is right next
Hell
to
yeah.
Sepulveda Meats, which is a butcher shop in San Diego, family owned. They do a wedge salad that is unlike anything you've ever had, and it's really because of those lardons. They have their own lardons that they smoke, and they are just like meat nuggets of deliciousness. Go to it. What's your Instagram handle at Smallgoods?
What is it? Smallgoods US. Smallgoods with an underscore under it. Yeah.
Smallgoods
Really-
underscore.
Yeah.
Everybody go check out this shop. It's just magic.
Thank you.
And it's by 2 people. One's from New York, and she's like, she doesn't give you any bullshit. She'll actually tell you what's real, in her world.
I'm pretty straightforward.
She slipped a caveman her number, for God's
And
sake.
an Australian,
She's legit.
and an Australian who has absolutely zero work ethic because he wanted to go to San Diego to get a work ethic and escape surfing.
Indeed.
Everybody, Smallgoods. That's it. See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Thank you.